Welcome back to the 21 Boom Guided Meditation Series. This is Coach Zach Feeney and your guide this evening. And again, take your seat and gently close your eyes and just feel your body resting in space. Feel the sensations of gravity pulling you into your seat. And let your awareness be very wide, simply receiving all the raw sensations. Tingling and pressure, vibration, itching, pain, whatever it is, pleasant or unpleasant. In this session, you might pay special attention to pleasant and unpleasant things, the feeling tone to each experience. For the next 10 minutes, see if you can cease to care at all about pleasant and unpleasant. Just let everything be as it is. Just let your thoughts come and go, sensations in the body, sounds. And if there's anything even slightly unpleasant, pain somewhere, feelings of restlessness, frustration, doubt, just notice that too. Simply be a mirror-like space in which that appears. And so too with any pleasant sensations or thoughts or emotions. Just let your awareness reflect all of these things equally. There's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to push away. The moment you notice you are lost in thought, just begin again. Begin again with a bright and clear awareness. And notice if your awareness is being colored by liking or disliking anything. Sensations, thoughts, the feelings that meditation practice might be going well or badly. See if you can unwind all of that in this instance. Just drop it and be nakedly aware of raw sensation. In the final minute of this session, pay attention to the breath clearly as you can. Follow it from the moment it arises until the moment it passes away. Okay, once again, I hope you're finding that taking just a few minutes out of your day to do this is quite unlike not doing it. It certainly isn't like never doing it, which is where most people are. Most and more, I think you'll see, more and more, I think you'll see, as you make a habit of this practice, that this is quite a revolutionary thing to do. To even be aware that liking and not liking an experience is a separate component of the experience, and that you need not always, in every case, be taken in by it. This is a remarkable insight into the nature and plasticity of consciousness. One thing that training in mindfulness can show you is that that which is aware of unpleasant sensations is the same and feels the same as that which is aware of pleasant sensations. There really is a kind of equanimity intrinsic to consciousness that can be quite liberating to discover. And if it's appropriate to say that there is a goal to this practice that is pretty close to the center of it, to simply give up this automatic struggle we live with moment by moment and acquire an ability to leave things as they are, if only for moments at a time, to punctuate our relentless search for happiness with real equipoise and well-being, to give up the search by merely paying attention, and to that end, we'll come back to the practice next week. Of all the solar systems in this universe that might sustain complex life, we find ourselves in this one. It took billions of years of evolution on this earth to produce the people we are now. Our brains and bodies have evolved through millions of generations, reaching back to creatures totally unlike us, to animals so strange that we wouldn't even want them as pets, and finally to single-cell organisms. For ages, the world got on without us, and now we're here. And among all the possible people that could exist, we are among the tiny minority that actually do. And of all of the periods in history where we might have appeared, we live in this one, arguably the first in which it was possible to understand our circumstance in a truly universal sense. For the first time, a person's view of the world need not be dictated by the mere location of his birth or the religion of his parents. For the first time, the barriers of language and geography have totally fallen away. At this moment, you have instantaneous access to more information than even the greatest scholars or world leaders did a generation ago. And yet, on some level, we confront the same mystery of our existence that Socrates or the Buddha faced. The fact that you are you, the fact that you exist in this moment, is a miracle of sorts. There's something fundamentally inexplicable about it. There's no amount of knowledge that seems adequate to dispel the mystery of our appearance here. Whatever you know, whatever you believe, whatever you have done or hope to do, you have this moment of conscious life to contemplate. You have this minute, this hour, this day, and it will never come again. So I want to talk for a few minutes about the intrinsic mystery of this circumstance. It really is the mystery of being. In science and philosophy, it's often claimed that they are in the business of getting rid of mysteries. And there's a lot of course, a sense in which that is true. If we don't know why people are getting sick, for instance, and we discover the virus that's causing it, well, then the mystery has been solved. But there's another sense in which mystery never recedes, and if you pay attention, you can see that it's an ever present fact of even the most well understood phenomenon. The philosopher Bertrand Russell described our most rudimentary knowledge of the world as knowledge by acquaintance. For instance, the color of a table standing before you, and here's the quote from him: "The particular shade of color that I'm seeing may have many things said about it. I might say that it is brown, that it is rather dark, and so on. But such statements, though they make me know truths about the color, do not make me know the color itself any better than I did before. So far as it concerns the knowledge of the color itself, as opposed to knowledge of truths about it, I know the color perfectly and completely when I see it, and no further knowledge of it is theoretically possible. Thus, the sense data which make up the appearance of my table are things in which I have acquaintance, and things immediately known to me, just as they are." Now, what Russell seems to overlook here is that this basic knowledge, to which no knowledge can even be theoretically added, is a place where we uncover an intrinsic limit to understanding. When we consider any facet of experience, in this case, a vision of color, if we can see, then stem them, if we can see and then stem the tide of our thoughts long enough to merely observe it as it is, the fact that we're in total ignorance of what it is can become obvious. I mean, what is the color blue? Not as a function of wavelengths of light or neurophysiology, but as it is directly perceived. We're really left with nothing to say but that it's blue, which of course does nothing to clarify things. In fact, it's not even blue, which is just a word. It's a noise we're making. But what we see before us says what is inevitably what it ineffably is. Focusing on this distance between concepts and experience is a means of sneaking up on a truth that is generally described in Buddhism as the truth of emptiness. The idea that no thing has intrinsic independent existence in the way that it seems. Now, there are many ways to come at this insight into emptiness, and frankly, this line of inquiry may be too steep for some of us at this point. So I encourage you to return to it after you have more experience in the practice of meditation, but it is worth reflecting on even at this point. The moment we suspend the conceptual associations we have with a given object or perception, our knowledge about it, our direct experience of it, can grade into this experience of just pure mystery. We're left with this wordless intuition of consciousness and its contents, about which nothing more really can be said. I mean, right now, as you listen to me speak, pay careful attention to the process of listening, the feeling of sitting. Look closely at everything around you. I'd like to suggest that while you know many things about the present moment, you do not know what anything in itself is. I mean, you can look at your hand and what is it? You can define this part of your body in language. You can call it a hand. You can consider the fact that it's made of bone and muscle and threaded with blood vessels and nerves. But this is all a description about the object that you're now looking at. If you simply look at your hand and ask yourself, what is it? You might realize in a moment of rare open-mindedness that it is an absolute mystery. It is in fact as mysterious in appearance as any you could ever have hoped to find. Now, there are scientific arguments that can be arrayed against the mysteriousness of any object. We can point to the fact that the atoms in your hand were born billions of years ago in the belly of a star. And in fact, some of these atoms may have inhabited several stars in succession. It's even possible that some atoms that were once in the body of historical figures like Winston Churchill or Cleopatra are now in you. In fact, it might be descriptively true to implicate the entire universe in your hand or in any object being what it is. But no such litany of concepts or connections can account for the mystery that looms whenever you just look at something closely, anything, however commonplace, and realize that while you might have volumes of knowledge about it, you don't have the slightest understanding of what it is in itself. Now, others have noticed this fact. Walter Benjamin, the German literary critic, stumbled upon this mystery in Marsalis after smoking for the first time. He distilled it in the phrase, "how things would stand the gaze." And all things really do withstand the gaze. We confront the mystery of being in every moment. But we don't notice it because this mystery is tiled over with concepts. Now, meditation isn't about understanding things conceptually. It's the ability to experience things more clearly prior to concepts. It is the knowledge by acquaintance that Russell spoke of. Take, Taken to the ultimate degree, and the more you practice it, you'll find that it really is a new form of intelligence. It leads to another way of being in the world and one that can allow for a kind of psychological freedom that is a continuous entanglement with concepts in which the continuous entanglement with concepts doesn't. There's a famous parable from the Buddha meant to get at this difference. A man is struck in the chest with a poison arrow, and a surgeon rushes to his side to begin the work of saving his life. But the man resists. He first wants to know the name of the Fletcher who fashioned the arrow's shaft, and the type of wood from which it was cut, and the motive of the man who shot it, and the name of the horse upon which he rode, and 1,000 other things that have no bearing at all upon his present suffering or ultimate survival. So this man needs to get his priorities straight. His commitment to thinking about the world results from the basic misunderstanding of his predicament. And though we may be only dimly aware of it, we too have problems that will not be solved by more thinking.